Hello, patron subscribers. Brian Keene here with you. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. As you can see, we're out in the woods. These are the woods I look at almost every day. Up here, some cliffs. There's currently a plane going overhead. Hopefully he's not drowning me out. Anyway, Mary and I, of course, live in rural South Central Pennsylvania, and we are surrounded by miles and miles and miles of woodland and farmland, etc. Every day around 2 o'clock, I get in my exercise, which is basically a hike. I usually try to hike 2 to 4 miles, depending on what else I have to do that day. And I always pick one of the trails behind our house. This trail right here is actually part of the Mason-Dixon trail. That's a trail that, as you may have guessed by the name, of course, spans the Mason-Dixon line, both sides of it. This is just a few steps from our house, really, and it's one that I hike often. Usually, I do this in silence, just me and my stick. But today, I'm bringing you along because I want to show you my creative process. People ask me, where do I get my ideas? These forests are where I've gotten the vast majority of my ideas for the past 5 or 6 years. As I said, I hike this every day. Rain, sleet, snow, sun, it doesn't matter. I'm back here hiking. You know, it does my heart good, but it also does, and it does my weight good, obviously, but it also does my my creativity good. So today, I'm thinking about an anthology series called Obituaries. Obituaries is produced by Christopher Triana, Aaron Beauregard, and Daniel J. Volpe. And they put it out annually, 3 stories or novellas by each of them. Of course, all 3 of those guys are known for extreme horror. And they've asked myself and a few other writers, who I'm not sure if I can name or not, to participate as well. So I'm very honored by that. I think all 3 of those guys are fantastic writers. And it's jazz to know that, you know, these 3, I don't want to call them up-and-comers because, you know, they're superstars in their own right now, but that these 3 superstars would ask me to play along with them. So I want to give them something good. However, those of you who have been following Patreon for a long time, you know that the older I get, the more I struggle with extreme horror. I love reading it, but I struggle with writing it myself. My muse just does not go in that direction anymore. So what I'm out here thinking about while I'm on the trail today is what to write for them. And as we're walking, I'm narrating that creative process to you. Now, we're getting to a fork in the trail. If we wanted to go that way, we would go south. We would cross the border into Maryland, but we're not going to go south. We're going to go north. We're going to circle back to my house. I'll tell you what I had a lot of fun writing, and that was Island of the Dead. I love that genre bending of sword and sorcery and horror fiction. And Island of the Dead, I certainly wouldn't call it extreme horror. It was, of course, a zombie novel, but it was also a sword and sorcery novel. It was very Conan-esque. So what I'm thinking is that for Obituaries, maybe I'll write them a sword and sorcery extreme horror novel. Not novel, but novella, story. Let's stop here at the creek so you can get a moment of zen. I often get a moment of zen here. I loved using Enar, the main character of Island of the Dead. I loved the secondary characters too. One of them was based on my stepdaughter, Ada. Chewie was based quite a bit on J.F. Gonzalez. And the other character, based a little bit on Wrath, but mostly fictional. It would be fun to use all those characters again. However, I think given that this is going to be either a very short novella or a story, that I should probably just use Enar. Because if I introduce all 4 of those characters, I want all 4 of them to get their own shining moment, and that's going to make for a very long piece. So we just use Enar, and maybe we start in the wilderness like this, or maybe the bird's nest up there. And this is how it goes every day, folks. I walk, I hike, I don't talk to myself, but I think, I spitball ideas in my head. I think about what I'm working on or what I'm going to be working on next. I think about grabbing that vine right there and swinging through these trees like Tarzan. When I was 12 years old, I would have done that. But at almost 56, a month away from being 56, I don't think I will. You can't see it, but that's a cliff top up there, and this trail is actually going to take us up to the top of it. And there are similar vines up there at the top of the cliff. And I've often thought about just rappelling down, but maybe we have Enar rappel down a vine. No. Okay, how about this? It's got to be extreme horror. There has to be that element, because let's be honest, the people buying these books, buying obituaries, they're fans of Chris and Aaron and Daniel, and they're going to expect that. And here's the beauty of what these guys do in their audience. Their audience is significantly younger than mine or Brian Smith's or Edward Lee's or Wrath's. And our stuff is quite often tame in comparison to what Volpe and Beauregard and Triana are doing. And I think that's wonderful. But I want to grab their audience's attention. I don't want this story or novella to be, oh, isn't that nice? Grampy contributed a story. No, I want to grab their attention. I want to knock them out of their fucking shoes. So how to do that? Well, we could kill a baby. That always gets people's attention. It worked for Jesus and Survivor. There's the cliffs coming up. I still don't know if you can see them, though, on video. Maybe we set this tale before Island of the Dead, before Enar was captured and became a slave. Maybe he's a mercenary at the time, and he is hired to rescue a young teenager from this cult, from this antediluvian pre-biblical cult that exists in his time. And when Enar sneaks into this cult's encampment somewhere in the wilderness, he sees that they are sacrificing babies. Maybe that's our opening scene. It's like Baal worship from the Bible. You know, they would put the babies in ovens, we're told. Maybe it's something like that, but I don't want to use ovens. I need something more immediate that is going to grab their readers' attention. But maybe Enar's mission was to save this teenager quietly and get out. But when he gets there and he sees the atrocities that are taking place, he snaps and he kills every single living cult member in this encampment. We're talking hundreds of people. We're talking warriors, guards, priests, acolytes, everybody. Cuts them all down, hacks and slashes his way through the whole thing, including the teenager who he came to save because he sees that teenager participating in baby sacrifice as well. And basically what we have is 20,000 words of Enar hacking and slashing and disemboweling and beheading and amputating and cutting, and basically a big slash fest. That might work. That might work. I have to be weird, or I have to be honest. It's weird narrating my thought process out loud, but this is it. This is as accurate a portrayal of my creative process as you're ever going to find. I come out here, I hike, I think to myself exactly as I've been narrating it, because all I've been doing is saying my thoughts out loud, and then I go home and I start typing it out. And then tomorrow, when I'm back here again, I think about what I wrote that day, and I think about where I want to go with it next. And then the day after, the same thing, unless I'm working on something else, then I come out here and I think about that instead. Here's the cliffs I mentioned. I'm fairly certain this won't show up, but we were way down there, and now we're not. There's some of those vines I mentioned. Anyway, I have a little ways to go to get back to my house, but wanted to share this with you. I'm trying to think of different things for the patron. That's something else I'm thinking about today while I'm out here. I mean, it's cool that to serialize these novels, and people get to read them long before they're published. They get to read them in first draft version. Sometimes the first drafts are very close to the finished product. Island of the Dead, the 3 Labyrinth novels, very close to the finished product. Sometimes, like in the case of Invisible Monsters, the next Levi Stoltzfus book, that version that's on Patreon is very different from what the published version is going to be. Basically, the entire second half of that book has been rewritten. I'm editing it now, and it's very different from what appears on Patreon. So, but it's cool doing those. It's cool putting up short stories. It's cool with the behind the scenes stuff and the scripts and the essays, but I always want to be giving you more content and more neat things. And I thought, well, maybe this would be something people would enjoy. For right now, I will keep it exclusive to Patreon subscribers. Eventually, as I always do, I will make it available to the viewing public as well on YouTube. But there you have it. My Daily Creative Process by Brian Keene. Thanks for watching, and we will see you soon.